Cyril Ramaphosa, confirming the State Security Agency will now fall under the Minister in the Presidency, Mondli Gungubele, effectively having the vital wing of government under his political control. Our senior political reporter, Ziyanda Ngcobo, she joins me now to get more on this. Ziyanda, good afternoon to you. I mean, in a way, it's surprising, and it's not surprising. It's not surprising that the President's picked Mondli Gungubele.
Not surprising, because we all know that Mondli Gungubele is an ally of the President, and for a role such as being the head of intelligence, you'd need someone that you actually trust. In fact, I'm surprised that the President didn't make this move much earlier, especially after the July unrest. You would have thought that he would have moved quite swiftly in this regard. And remember that it was that July unrest that precipitated the President moving, the intelligence services right into the presidency, which would mean that it's fully under his control. Everything that happens is right under his nose. And so it's important for him to have his allies there, including Ziyanda, who's a strong ally of the President, in those important portfolios. But, Stephen, we must also remember what year we're in. It's 2022. There's an elective conference, and I have no doubt that these two men being in such important portfolios will also become a political football at some stage, and there will be all sorts of accusations about how state apparatus is being used for factional battles. We've already seen, just through the varying opinions on the opinion piece by the Human Settlements Minister, that the road to 2022 is in full swing.
Well, I mean, you'll have to go back a very long time to find when the State Security Service was completely independent, possibly back to Ronnie Casual's.
Yes.
It was 2007, I was reminded this afternoon, that Billy Masetla was removed from the position by Thabo Mbeki ahead of Polokwane. The reason I say all of that is that they've always played a role, really, haven't they?
They always have played a role. I mean, and if you look at the report by Sidney Mufamadi on just how factionalized the intelligence services was, and this is exactly why I made the point about it's surprising that the President took so long, given how damning the findings by Mufamadi were in that high-level panel report, which came out in 2018, 2019, if my memory serves me well. So in all of this, this is part of why the blame for the July unrest has been apportioned to, the lack of action on the part of the President. Interestingly, you'll recall as well last year, Stephen, that the President put together an expert team to look into the government's response to the July unrest. They had a 3-month period to complete this report, and that report has reached, of course, the President. So it would be very interesting to know whether or not perhaps some of the findings from the likes of Advocate Mujanku Kumbi, who has formed part of that panel, actually contributed towards this move by the President? Or could it be the switching off of the lights in Polokwane or the burning of Parliament? I don't know, Stephen, but there's been a lot that's been happening in the country, and I think, I'm just waiting to get clarity on whether or not, Mondli Gungubele will still be continuing with his communications role on behalf of the President.
Well, I was going to ask, because that would be almost unique in my experience, to have someone who actually has political control for an intelligence service, actually answering questions and being accessible. Not entirely unique. I mean, I remember speaking to David Ngcobo when he was intelligence minister. Siyabonga Cwele was intelligence minister when his wife at the time was actually convicted for drugs trafficking. The history of this, Lindiwe Sisulu was intelligence minister a long time ago. Very little happened on her watch that would lead to any questions being asked there. The point I'm making is that along with the political power this position has held, it's also led to trouble for so many people.
No, absolutely, Stephen, and I think, hence I'm saying we're going to have to get clarity there. I mean, someone was just asking what actually happened to Kusela Diko as well, and why we had an acting spokesperson for so long in the presidency. So, I mean, as you've already mentioned, there have been so many instances where you've had an intelligence minister and they speak for themselves, but will Mondli Gungubele still be speaking on behalf of the President? We just haven't gotten that clarity just yet. It will be very interesting to see then whether or not there will be any shifts or changes, within this portfolio, given just how much has happened, like I'm saying, in the last 6 months or so in the country, just incidents that we can point out to. The collapse of crime intelligence within the police and service in and of itself is something to point towards, whether you look at the walls of Peter Jacobs and the court cases. So the point I'm making here is that while this is a move that many would welcome, some may not be welcoming this move at all, Stephen.
Ziyanda Ngcobo, thanks very much indeed. Our senior political reporter, she's going to go and work her phone, which may or may not be tapped.